So with technology, with products, with anything like that, specs do matter. But the thing is, they don't matter as much as they used to. And we're living in a time now where the absolute best technology is so good that the stuff that's a little bit worse is also amazing. And I think that's really the philosophy that Apple took with the iPhone 11, with this new iPhone line in general, because the iPhone 11, on paper, some of the specs are not that great. The screen is less than 1080p. It's the same pixel density as the iPhone 8 and all the older ones. It doesn't have a third camera. It's made of aluminum, not stainless steel. When you compare that to the 11 Pro, it sounds like it's a lot worse. It sounds like it's not the best phone. It sounds like it's something a little bit more budget. But the reality is, after using this thing for almost a month now, I can tell you that that stuff really doesn't matter. It really doesn't make much of a difference. So when the iPhone 11 and the 11 Pro got announced, I was still using my iPhone SE, and I decided I was going to get the 11 Pro. I wanted to buy the best, most expensive one they sold because I had the same phone for 3 years and it was getting really slow. And I decided I was going to treat myself. But I'm also in college. And with that being said, I don't have a lot of extra money. So when I saw how much the 11 Pro would be after tax, I realized I couldn't afford it. And a little bit saddened, I decided to look at the normal 11 and settle for that because it was $300 cheaper and it was losing some of the great features the Pro had, or at least the Apple website said so. But I decided it would be okay. So I ordered it, and on September 20th, it arrived, and I was not really that excited, honestly. I was kind of upset that I hadn't ordered the Pro, but I unboxed it, I got it set up, and very quickly I realized this phone is amazing. And now that 3, almost 4 weeks have passed, I really don't even regret at all. I don't really look back with any form of regret that I didn't buy the 11 Pro. I think I made the right choice. There's been a lot of reviews of the iPhone 11 out on YouTube, and a lot of them are saying the same thing. This thing is actually way better than you might expect, and somehow it's cheaper than the XR was when it came out last year. A lot of people were critical this year of Apple for sticking with the same design they had the last few years. As far as the screen size, the actual frame, almost nothing has changed. But I don't think that was such a bad choice. What Apple realized is that for the average customer, for most people in general, having a brand new design doesn't really mean that much. What people want is a really great camera, they want a screen that's large and bright, and they want a phone that's fast, and they also want to spend less money if possible. I know it became more normal in the last few years for phones to cost over $1,000, and this was something I never experienced because my last phone was the iPhone SE, which I paid around $550 for, something like that. It wasn't that expensive. Before that, I held the LG G4, which I bought at T-Mobile, I think several months after it came out. I also spent about $550. I've never spent $1,000 on a phone, and I hope I never have to. Because Apple decided with the 11 they were going to basically go back to that old flagship price for phones, when phones used to cost $749 and $699. But instead of making this the budget model like they did last year with the XR, they decided to basically market this as the main iPhone, as the normal one, as the iPhone 11, not the iPhone 11 budget model, not the iPhone 11R, just the iPhone 11. And I think that was the best move they could have made because there's really nothing about this phone that you're sacrificing. There's nothing about it that feels budget. If you're coming from one of the older iPhones, one of the first things you're really going to appreciate is the difference in battery life. I'm more of a light user now because when I first got the phone, I was really addicted to it, but it's 4:30 p.m. and I still have 79% battery life. That is outstanding. I've never had a phone perform like that in any of my experiences. And if you're a light user, you can easily get 2 days out of this phone. If you're a more heavy user, you do a lot of different things like playing games, watching tons of videos, you can be confident this thing will last the whole day. With my iPhone SE, it was often 3 or 4 in the afternoon and the phone would die, which is just terrible when you're at school and you have to carry around a portable charger. So having a phone with this kind of battery life, it just really puts my mind at ease. I can go and take notes during class, I can record video, I can do so many things that in the past I didn't do because I was worried about the phone dying, and I'm just really impressed that Apple was able to make the battery life on this phone so exceptional. The next big thing you're really going to appreciate coming from any other phone is the camera. Apple really did a good job this year with the camera, the most standout feature being the night mode. So if you have even the smallest amount of light in your shot, you're going to be able to get a photo with minimal digital noise, not a lot of that graininess, and it's going to look almost like you were using flash. I'm going to attach some examples, but Apple is able to pull this off by combining both a longer exposure and the actual ISO in the camera, the ability to digitally brighten. That combined leads to photos that, while they are a little bit noisy if you zoom in, they look more than acceptable considering the light circumstances. And this is a first for Apple. I know other companies have done this in the past, but it's really a nice thing to have on the iPhone and something you'll definitely appreciate. The other big improvement with the camera from my perspective is I'm noticing significantly more pleasing color coming from the camera. A color science that, at least to me, looks a lot better. Something like color science in camera is really subjective, so this is going to depend on your taste. I think everything just looks a lot more natural. The colors look a lot more pleasing, and I'm really impressed because in the past I always had the feeling with iPhone photography and video that it looked really digital and kind of fake. There's still some elements of that here. Apple's still using digital sharpening to try to make your photos look sharper, which doesn't look quite as natural, but I don't think it's extreme, and the colors tend to be pretty neutral. Everything looks a lot more natural than it did in the past. The camera's excellent. I don't feel a need to carry around a camera with me when I go on trips or go out and do things. This camera's more than enough, and that low light capability in and of itself is really unique and something I really appreciate when I'm out with friends at night or just in any situation where there's not a lot of available light. So the phone's speakers are actually really good. This is something that a lot of phones struggle with, and a lot of older iPhones were not really very good in this department. But the last few years, and especially this year, Apple's really upped their game with the speaker quality. It's more than good enough to be able to play music and be able to hear detail. Walking around the house, listening to YouTube videos, it's all totally doable with this speaker set, and it does get really loud. At the last couple volumes, you're going to notice some distortion, but it's not that noticeable, and considering how loud the speakers are getting, it's more than forgivable. Although I do have to warn you guys, I was being pretty dumb the other day, and I decided to put the speakers on 100% and put the phone like this near my ear to try and listen to an audiobook. That was a bad idea, and I ended up tweaking my ear. I got it checked out at school by the nurse, and apparently it was okay, but my ear was feeling pretty weird. And even today, about 2 weeks later, it's still a tiny bit noticeable that I messed up my ear a little bit. And that was a result of putting the speaker really loud near my ear. So just make sure you don't do that. But overall, the speaker quality is excellent. I use it to play Tidal music, which is the streaming software that I choose to use. And listening to YouTube videos is also very enjoyable. And one of the benefits of that louder speaker, despite its slight distortion, is if you're in a group of people, you're going to be able to play something loud enough so that everybody can hear. I think we've all been there where we're with somebody and they're trying to show us something on their phone outside, and you can't hear it, and you end up putting it right up to your ear. As I already mentioned, you put this thing right up to your ear, you're going to hurt your hearing. So it's definitely really loud, and that's one of the best features in my opinion. There you have it. The iPhone 11, Apple's take on a slightly cheaper phone, which has slightly less features than their most expensive model. In 2019, having slightly less than the best specs still leads to a phenomenal phone experience. There's nothing about this purchase that left me wishing I had the Pro. I don't ever think about it. The only thing I could think of if I'd bought the Pro is how I'd have less money right now than I currently do, and how I'd be struggling to explain to my parents why my bank account was near zero because I wanted to have an OLED screen and a third camera. The iPhone 11 is excellent, and I highly recommend it. So if you watched this far into the video, thank you. We've been gone for a while. We haven't made a video in almost 6 months, but in that time we've got all new gear. We're now going to be shooting, hopefully all our videos in 4K, and we have a lot more time to put into this because we're passionate about building a community on this channel, about having a place where we can discuss tech and talk with you guys, and we're really, really looking forward to what this could hold in the near future. So stay tuned. If you're interested in supporting our work, consider buying this iPhone 11. We might be able to find an affiliate link, and if not the phone, consider buying the case, which we'll have a link for down there, and other products that we use and recommend will be there as well with affiliate links. And we also have a Patreon. If you're interested in supporting our work, the link will be down there as well. And finally, if you'd like to chat with us, if you'd like to talk about tech, headphones, anything in that world, go and join our Discord server, which we'll have a link to down there as well. There's a decent amount of people on there, and they're all pretty passionate about tech, and we're on there answering questions in the voice channels, honestly just having a good time. So we hope to see you there. Until next time, Christian from Erickson Films.